Well, the issue of caravan warranty has once again surged into the national spotlight. There was an article online very recently about a consumer up in Queensland who saw a caravan at one of the caravan shows up there and just had to have it. Bought the caravan, but ended up at the Queensland Civil and Administrative Tribunal in search of a full refund of the caravan, which actually cost about $90,000. So what's happened? As it turned out, this particular caravan had 12 defects. Now, Australian consumer law guarantees certain protections for consumers. If you were to buy a new caravan, look, if it was a minor defect, then the Australian consumer law won't guarantee you a full refund, even though you as a consumer might feel entitled to a refund. But if it's a major defect, then you are entitled to a full refund. But what constitutes a major or a minor defect? In the world of caravans, I guess that can be a little bit of a grey area, and people do end up at places like QCAT and VCAT here in Victoria seeking that full refund. So this person up in Queensland, she had 12 defects found on her caravan. Each defect arguably might be considered minor. There were things like warped cupboard doors, a screw had poked up through the vinyl floor and caused some damage, some wires hanging down here and there. So on their own, you might argue that each defect is minor and therefore subject to repair rather than a full refund of the purchase price. But what the QCAT tribunal member found was that, these 12 defects taken, in their entirety, constituted a major failure of the caravan, and therefore the customer was entitled to a full refund, which amounted to about $90,000. But then the question becomes, what is actually fair here? In my opinion, I think that the customer was absolutely in the right. If you'd spent 90 grand on a new caravan, frankly, you would be well within your rights to expect that it would be absolutely perfect with zero defects. Not just one, not two minor defects that can be fixed, but zero defects. Now, the thing is, caravans are largely, hand-built objects, unlike, in the car industry where you've got automation all over the place, which guarantees these millimetre perfect tolerances and that sort of thing. So that's not the case with caravans. There is, human error involved. One caravan might not weigh exactly the same as the caravan that was built before it, even if they are exactly the same make and model. And in my mind, it is because of that human factor that we do see these so-called minor defects. Sometimes it's very minor and it's just badly applied silicon. But in this case, if you've got 12 defects, where is the line? So as we said, you've got the protection of Australian consumer law, but sometimes you might not feel overly protected by that, especially if, it's a minor defect or a few minor defects that the manufacturer can get away with just fixing on your behalf. But what can you do to give yourself some peace of mind? First of all, if you're at a dealership, they're going to give you a full handover of your caravan. And frankly, if they don't give you a full handover that lasts at least an hour or two, then don't buy the caravan because that's not a reputable business. You can look at the condition of the caravan yourself. Go over it with a fine-tooth comb. Ask lots of questions. If something doesn't seem right, look, there's a good chance it isn't. As we said, these are hand-built objects, and sometimes, people just aren't paying attention when they've gone to work that day. What do I personally look for when I'm looking at a new caravan? I'm always looking at the joinery on the inside. I'm looking at the alignment of the cupboards to make sure that everything's square and plumb and true. I always look underneath the caravan as well. So look, I think that the caravan purchaser has a lot of power here. Obviously, you might not be an expert when it comes to what a caravan should look like and what would constitute a major or minor defect, but again, it's about asking the question. Now, as I mentioned, this case in Queensland, the caravan was actually purchased at the Queensland Caravan Show. And if you're purchasing a caravan at a caravan show, you want to make sure that it is fully compliant, and they should still offer you a full handover at the dealership away from the show environment. And if they don't offer you that, don't buy the caravan. And we can also talk about warranties in general, specifically off-road caravan warranties. What constitutes off-road travel for the purposes of warranty? That is a real grey area in the world of caravans. Some manufacturers of off-road caravans will tell you that the caravan is warranted to go wherever your four-wheel drive can go. But I've also seen fine print on some websites that talk about off-road conditions being a more of a light-duty environment. So, for example, a grass field is technically an off-road environment because you're not on any gazetted road. Is that what the caravan manufacturer means by off-road travel? Or, will the caravan be okay to go along, Cape York, down the Gun Barrel Highway, wherever you want to take it? Again, these are questions that you've absolutely got to ask, because I'm telling you, there are manufacturers out there who have a very different point of view of what a warranty should cover. And I think the onus is on you as the caravan owner now to understand what that warranty covers so you don't find yourself in a sticky situation. Okay, so this all sounds like major doom and gloom in the caravan industry, right? You want to be able to buy your caravan with confidence, obviously. But the good news is, in my opinion, the Australian caravan industry is a lot better regulated today than it was 5, 10 or 15 years ago. I think we can say there's a lot of manufacturers out there who absolutely do the right thing, who will honour their warranty, even if there is a bit of grey area or a bit of ambiguity. I can think off the top of my head of a number of caravan manufacturers who I would buy a caravan from in a heartbeat because I know that they'll do the right thing. And not only by me, but also by their other customers out there. This isn't about bashing the Australian caravan industry. I think at GoRV we have a good history of being fair and balanced in that regard. We understand that there are problems, and there have always been problems in the Australian caravan industry. But I think the new regulatory framework that all manufacturers have to adhere to now in Australia, and that also includes caravans being imported, by the way, has done wonders. We've gotten rid of that self-certification nonsense. So I don't think it's a case of saying that all Australian caravans are rubbish. That is absolutely not the case. There are always going to be a couple of, examples out there that bring the industry down and give the lifestyle, if you like, a bad name. But as I said, there are a lot of quality manufacturers out there, and for the most part, I do think we can buy with confidence, but I do think it's absolutely worth asking some questions at the point of handover. Now, feel free to sound off in the comments. I mean, have you been the victim of, a shoddy caravan warranty, or maybe you've had a great experience? Tell us about it. We would love to hear. This is a great starting point for some interesting conversation. Don't forget to leave a like, and if you haven't subscribed to GoRV, please do so. It doesn't cost you a thing. And don't forget, we do have a free e-mag. Just go to gorv.com.au, follow the prompts, sign yourself up, won't cost you a thing, and you'll get all of our free content in your mailbox each week.